is Dana Neacsu. I'm the director of DCLI, and this is my privilege to be here with Professor Ash London and talk about her faculty scholarship in 10 questions. Before I let her introduce herself, let me tell you how I see Professor London. Ashley M. London is the Director of Bar Studies and an Assistant Professor of Law at our law school, the Thomas R. Kline School of Law at Duquesne University. In addition to her roles teaching professional responsibility, introduction to legal education, and bar readiness skill courses, Professor London develops unique and comprehensive bar preparation programming with a focus on strong student outcomes. I think what I would like to add is the love Professor London has for her students. I'm going to quote you. I love Duquesne Law because our students demonstrate an indomitable spirit, especially when it comes to the bar exam. They never give up and never make excuses. I think this grit and especially your collegiality and professionalism come across in your scholarship. So I want to thank you for being here. And I'm giving you the chance to answer our first question. How would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. The DCLI and you guys in particular do so much for our law professors here. So thank you. Really appreciate it. I appreciate this opportunity to get to talk about something that's fun and important and something that I really, really enjoy. So I would say if I am introducing, you already did a great job introducing me, but I would say, yes, I'm very student-centered. The students in teaching are exactly why I'm here. It's my favorite part of the job. And scholarship is actually something that's fairly new to me, right? So I've been teaching for about 10 years now, and I've really been involved in scholarship for the past 2.5. So definitely it's a change and it's something interesting, and I'm really excited to see it evolve.
Thank you. I have to congratulate you. For only 2 years, we have quite a few works of scholarship to show.
Well, I was a journalist before I came to law school, right? So I think that's important to note. I was a professional journalist for 13 years. So I always had it in me to write. I just really had been focused primarily on legal pedagogy and learning about how to teach the best way possible. And I think moving to scholarship is a natural evolution.
I think so. Thank you. What inspires you to write?
Injustice, oppression, railing against the status quo. I think inequity. Those, I would say, are the primary themes of my scholarship. And especially when you add legal ethics into the mix, those inequities should be abhorrent to us as lawyers who are subject to the very aspirational model rules of professional conduct.
I think what you're saying is incredibly important, especially as the president-elect of the Association of Academic Support Educators. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate you for making your mark at the national level.
Well, thank you so much. I think, the organization ACE has given me a lot. And it's really, we have Professor Herman here as well at Duquesne, and we had been involved with ACE for a very long time prior to this leadership position. So I've learned so much, and the folks in the field of academic and bar prep are so giving and supportive of scholarship that it really felt like now, after I've been in it for over a decade, it felt like it was time to give back.
That is wonderful. So the third question, who are your favorite legal writers?
Well, the list is a long one. Okay. So I'm going to start by saying Marcia Griggs, Joan Haworth, Jamie Kleptish, Paula Manning, Louis Schultz, Michael Hunter Schwartz. I mean, these are all folks from the academic success of bar prep world who really started this aspect of legal education and really kind of formalized it, and really kind of, by their writing, they really started the ball rolling on the change in legal education that we really need to see.
Would you like to tell us a bit more what you'd like to see?
So we all started back with, the Langdellian model, right? Back in the 1700s, who could be a lawyer? Privileged white male landowners, right? And we had Langdell in Harvard, who was using the Socratic method to develop lawyers, right? So they were trying to take us out of that barber surgeon role, right? And trying to make us into a profession. And I think, fine, there was a place for that at that time. But I think just like anything, legal education needs to grow and evolve to suit changing and evolving needs in the legal field. I mean, we are not a static profession. Things are not the same, nor should they be the same as they were back a couple hundred years ago.
Hallelujah.
Right?
This is wonderful. Now, moving forward, what piece of your scholarship would you like to talk about today?
Let's talk about all of it now.
Yes, yes.
So, I think it's really important to talk about the book, right? But I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I do want to just say, I think being involved in writing a textbook has been a testament to Susan Martin, Anna Patras Acosta, and also my mentor, Agnieszka Peak. And so what I want to emphasize about the book, yes, it's awesome to have a case book. Yes, we have some really new cases in there that I think are fascinating for students. But I also see women supporting women in legal education. And that book is the product of that. And I also think that's really important.
This is quite remarkable that you're able to stay true to your principles in your scholarships. I want to congratulate you.
Yeah,
it is quite unique and wonderful.
Thank you.
May I bring up two pieces of scholarship? One is SSRN.
Yes.
And it's forthcoming in the Michigan State Law Review. And who watches the Watchmen? And this is Juvenal. So you started with a quote in Latin.
I did.
How does that fit with your scholarship?
Well, so he was using that quote back in ancient Rome, really toward the fall of ancient Rome, where its excesses had just become outrageous, and he was using that as a way, the satires, to kind of poke a finger into those at power and say, hey, we see you, like, who's watching the Watchmen doing these things that they're doing. And actually, that statement has been a rallying cry for movements against oppression and injustice for centuries, right? The feminist movement has used that back when they were putting women into insane asylums with no good reason. Husbands just could do it. And then again, of course, in the comic series, the DC comic series, The Watchmen, right? And so to me, it's time to bring that rallying cry back with the power of the gatekeepers of the lawyer licensing system. Who is watching them and holding them accountable? Who is making sure we follow the rules of professional conduct in lawyer licensing? And the answer is not really anyone.
I think you're positioning yourself for saying that you are one of the people who is equipped to watch the Watchmen.
I don't know that I would go so far as to say that, right? I'm equipped to take a look at the system itself and show some holes and where we might be lacking. I can speak the truth to power, but at the end of the day, the judiciary in every single jurisdiction is the power to change. So my hope would be that they would see my scholarship, think about some of these ideas, and kind of take back control of lawyer licensing that largely has been outsourced.
And working along those lines, I see that you've also been published by the Pennsylvania Bar News. I guess this approach to trying to bring your ideas to practice.
Right. And about the Pennsylvania Bar publication, that was very much motivated by my students in professional responsibility. So I want to give them full credit for doing that. So in professional responsibility, we talk about Rule 8.4G, which is the anti-bias, the anti-harassment rule. And it has been adopted by some jurisdictions. It's been adopted by the ABA. It has not yet been adopted here in Pennsylvania. for a variety of reasons, right? People are objecting on First Amendment grounds. And so they're having kind of a fight about it right now in the courts. And my students hear this, and this is why I love our students. This is why I love teaching, right? They want to do something about it. They want to make their voices heard. They are the future. So they wanted to write an article to let other lawyers across the Commonwealth know, hey, the new generation is not going to put up with this old behavior, this sexual harassment, nothing, right? We want to be in a profession where we are respected, we are respectable, and we are, the guardians of the law in a more equitable, fair way. And so when they wanted to do that, I was like, let's go. Let's absolutely do this, and let's get the word out that this is the way the new generation feels.
I think it's marvelous that you are working on empowering the students.
Oh, it has to be, right? Because just like with the book, I mean, people have empowered me along my path. Just from starting out on the non-tenure track to being on the tenure track.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know how hard that is.
It's very difficult, but it's people giving me opportunities and hands up along the way. Right. And so I want to make sure that I pay that forward and do that for the next generation, because that's how we're going to have equity. That's how we're going to have diversity in our profession.
I'm not going to stop and clap for you, not yet. So what are the main ideas behind the pieces of scholarship that we mentioned? I think you touched upon that. If there is something that you would like to add.
To whom much is given, much is expected, right? And lawyers have a lot of power. And I think that it's time we really think about how we're using that. And if we believe that outsourcing our lawyer licensing to a nonprofit organization based in Wisconsin who lacks transparency is the best way to make sure that we are bringing competent lawyers into our system. I'm not totally saying I have a problem with an examination of some sort. Doctors have one, nurses have one. I mean, I think it's appropriate for lawyers who have control over people's lives, like family lawyers, children, money. I don't think it's wrong to have a standard of basic competence to meet. What I think is we adopted a system, probably the ABA back in the early 1900s, adopted the bar exam as a gatekeeping method to keep out women and people of color. And, Professor Howarth has written about this in Shaping the Bar. Her book is fantastic. Please go get that. It's an amazing book. And we need to really look at that carefully. Like, are we okay with this racist, sexist gatekeeping that we keep promulgating? Are we okay with that? We shouldn't be okay with that. Right? The ABA keeps saying we need to work on diversity and we need to do this and we need to do that, which is all great, but it's just words if we don't have the actions to back it up. And I think starting with lawyer licensing would be a good place to put our money where our mouth is.
That is speaking truth to power. Going ahead, what does it add to the existing body of literature in this field?
So to be clear, the people that I was talking about, Cassie Christopher, Marcia Griggs, Paula Manning, these folks all kind of set the stage in writing about the bar exam and how we can do it in a better way. So I want to make it very clear that I am actually standing on the shoulders of giants who have kind of carved this path before me. And I'm happy to add my voice to the growing body of literature who says this is not the way we should examine our future lawyers. So what do I think this adds? I think my unique spin on it, which we have to have in scholarship, is bringing legal ethics back into it, right? And really connecting the rules of professional conduct and applying them or attempting to apply them to lawyers, at least, who are involved in this process. And kind of bring it back to, we have rules of ethics because we're a profession. So we should follow those.
I'm going to go off script here for a moment. Do you think that your success, remarkable success in producing the passage rate for the bar exam at Duquesne is going to position you in a better locus, so your scholarship is going to be treated more seriously because you actually not only preach a particular approach to the bar examination, but you're able to deliver amazing results.
Well, thank you for saying that, but I will tell you, I am reluctant to take full credit for it because it's not just me. It's not just my department. It's the entire law school, like from when the students get in until the very end. And it's the students themselves, right? I mean, I think my department, bar studies, we help them along the way. We're like their Sherpa guides, right? But it takes a lot of us to get to these results. And the bar exam is going to be changing again in 2026, next gen. So my work isn't done, right? The status quo, it's being overturned. See how that goes. So we're in a time of great change. So, but thank you. The successes should be acknowledged for the entire school. All of our faculty, all of our staff play a role in that, and our students especially.
And I think you're positioned to have your scholarship reach further out and have a wider scope because of these successes.
Well, that's the hope, right? Yes, that would be amazing.
Now, I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
Number 7, how do you think the publication of your body of scholarship has affected your teaching? And especially, how do you think your scholarship will change based on what you have produced?
So I thought that was a very interesting question.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. When I started in the profession, scholarship just wasn't on the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And it was something that I thought about, but I thought, you know what, if my focus is teaching, that's what I'm doing. And as an NTT, a non-tenure track professor, that is your teaching, a heavier load, right? And so you don't have as much time for it. And I always kind of thought, well, does it affect your teaching? But now that I've done it and engaged in it, it does. It actually does affect your teaching. You go into a topic much deeper. And it's legal pedagogy, right? I mean, you have to practice and its skills, and that's its own kind of exercise. But writing, and especially writing in the field of professional responsibility, and then teaching it, it's a kind of a surprising delight that it does make my teaching feel a little more kind of exciting, right? I mean, because the rules of professional conduct are the rules of professional conduct. They don't change that often, right? So I'm teaching the same kind of code, but understanding it more, thinking about it from different angles. I think allows you to have a more dynamic approach in the classroom. So it was a surprise to me and an exciting one.
That's wonderful. So I'm happy that you are promoting that aspect, because sometimes people feel that it also affects their identity. So instead of being this potential everything, now you are a materialized something. And so I'm happy to hear that, in fact, that so-called limitation hasn't taken anything from the joy you have when you teach. What are you working on right now?
So I have 2 things going on right now. One, I'm doing a look at the data analysis for bar studies. For a long time, people have tried to use data to predict who will pass the bar and who will not. And so I'm working in collaboration with some mathematicians. Let me be clear, I'm not a mathematician, but I'm working with some mathematicians. And we're kind of taking a look at that kind of data-driven approach to bar pass.
And your discovery, that is?
Well, stay tuned. I'm not going to reveal it just yet. But there are interesting discoveries to be made. And then my second article is going to be strictly professional responsibility. It's going to be talking about advanced waivers. And it's going to be another Let's Surprise Truth to Power piece, right? Like, why are we using advanced waivers? Can, your clients truly give informed consent for disloyalty? So that one should be exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
We are looking forward, and here in the library, we are looking forward to support your scholarship.
You guys are amazing. Yes, Katie has already sat down and had a big meeting with me on how to do this kind of, countrywide research. So you're already helping me. Thank you.
That is wonderful. So shout out to Kate.
Shout out.
Now, We are approaching the end with two more questions. What would you like to work on next? So I know what you're working on, but what would you like to work on next?
I would like to work on how to integrate preparation for the next gen bar exam into our curriculum. So we are working on that. I think, I love to talk about scholarship and I'm really happy to do so, but teaching will always be my first love, right? It will always be my first area of focus. So while I'm working on the scholarship, I also want to make sure that I'm paying really good attention to what's coming out for our students, because I think helping them pass the bar to be licensed attorneys is part of our mission, right? It's part of what we promise them upon coming in to the law school. So that is what I am working on as well.
I still have nightmares from 1996 when I took my bar exam.
Of course you do. It's a brutal process. It shouldn't be that way. It is. No, I agree with you.
So I'm very, very happy that you are thinking forward and trying to help our students, because this rite of passage, I don't know how much it stands for a professional rite of passage or just a right of mental health and stamina and ability of just reading the same material over and over. And I don't think we want that from our students, correct? We want them to be critical.
And you want them to be thoughtful. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, the bar exam as it exists today prioritizes memorization.
Yes.
And we know from the very few studies that have been done, which they should do more gender and racial studies on the impact of the bar exam, we know that it has a deleterious effect on people of color and especially the multiple choice section of the bar exam. So we should be thinking about, again, how can we have a more fair, a more equitable bar exam that doesn't disadvantage anyone and that doesn't prioritize memorizing the common law rule for felony murder, which you may never use again.
Absolutely, but I think in the world of Google and Wikipedia, I don't think we should even go to memorization.
So I do believe memorization is a part of learning and not the main goal. The main goal is knowledge and application. But I do think, for example, you should memorize the rule for summary judgment or, a couple of things that you might have, like a 12b6 or things that you might love, but maybe you memorize it by applying,
by doing
it, right? That would be how I think about it.
I remember when I was a practicing attorney, every time we, submitted a summary judgment, all of us, we were with the CPLR rules in New York trying to see, have we missed the deadline? Even the partner. So every time we go back to the rules. So I think emphasizing memorization is in a way taking away from the idea, go and double check, triple check the rule. Then rely on your memory.
Absolutely. Any attorney who practiced law, like people take the bar exam, would be facing the possibility of being charged with malpractice, right? You don't put together an argument or a complaint without looking at resources. You don't just pull it from your brain and go,
no. Exactly. So I think your work is tremendously current and important, and want attorneys who think, not who can memorize.
Right. I mean, and think about the privilege also of being able to take 3 months off to memorize what you needed to take the bar, right? Who is that set up for? Not the working parent, not someone who has to support themselves. Absolutely not.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your work.
Thank you.
So the final question, what would you like to share with your students as a final thought?
Final thought for my students would be this.
Yes.
Don't ever let anyone tell you you can't, because you can. And don't let anyone tell you you don't belong, because you do. And I think that's really important. In a profession that has been known for being elitist to being exclusionary, I think it's really important, that sense of belonging and that sense of can do. Because people are still in the profession that will tell you, you can't do this, you can't be this. And I would like my students to say, watch me.
This is wonderful. Do we have any questions for Professor Lynch? She's amazing. And I think the thoughts that she, profound and so moving. And I wish you all the paths and the stamina to achieve everything you want and you are set up to achieve. And I know you are going to do.
Thank you. I have a lot of support from Duquesne,
Yes.
from my colleagues who are
Yes.
here right now supporting me,
Everyone is
right? So
theory.
well, no, I mean, I work with amazing people, like doing this together for our students.
Thank you so much.
You guys have any
And,
questions?
If there are questions, and if not, I just want to plug in our next meeting on March 8th with Professor John Rice.